When was the last time you traveled via an airplane? And how much did you pay, by the way? If it's been a year, well, I don't know, maybe I should say, I understand. Because it's no longer funny. 1.5 flight now over 100,000 naira. Depending on where you're going. 1 hour flight within Nigeria. Over 100,000 naira.
That's Lagos, Abuja.
To use the word on the street, it's okay. And the scarcity of aviation fuel isn't making things better, obviously. Add Forex to the mix. And meanwhile, the International Air Transport Association, IATA, as a top global trade association of airlines, has criticized Nigeria's failure to allow international airlines repatriate their profits, warning it may cause the country more damage. That's as if that was not enough. Anyway, I don't know much about aviation other than to go into an airplane and fly. And I don't know the next time I'll be able to do that on my own with the... Why are you laughing? 1 million naira to travel abroad? Come on. And that's just probably one way.
Actually, it's about 4 or 5 million. Economy.
And at the end of it, they'll put only.
Only, yes. The experts are here.
Yes. Engineer Frank Ogochukwu is Technical Director, Aviation Safety Roundtable Initiative. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Having me.
As well as Tayo Ujuri, who is an aviation expert. Thank you so much for being here.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay. Let me begin with you, Engineer Ogochukwu. I don't even know where to begin. Because it's such a complex mix.
Okay, let me help you. This whole thing started with aviation fuel. What is the position with that now? Any improvement? Any resolution in sight for the price to come down a bit at least so that poor man can fly in Nigeria?
Alero, while that is a valid question, the reason I said I don't know where to begin is the issues are so many.
Yeah.
So I actually wanted him to tell us which one is the most serious.
They're all serious because they're all resulting in you cannot fly.
Are you an expert? You are not an expert in aviation, you are an expert talker.
Which is what I'm doing.
Okay, so please help us understand first. So, because so many people who had plans to travel are having to review so many things. As far as the traveler is concerned, I just want to fly. And the issues are so many.
Well, he can't.
So, what would you say should be the prime issue for us to look at now? Because aviation crisis has led to, international airlines, raising their own issues. Where do we begin?
Okay, thank you very much. I think looking at aviation, right, is an issue of safety and security. So all of the elements you're mentioning here now impacts on safety and security. You can't divorce any of them. So we need to deal with the issues holistically, not just taking one out and trying to deal with that. But again, if you do that, the other elements that are not working is going to impact on whatever you've done. So at the end of the day, and that's something we've been doing over the years, piecemeal approach. So we need to actually holistically look at aviation in Nigeria and deal with the issues, whether it's fuel issues. I mean, for crying out loud, how come we're not refining Jet A1 in Nigeria? We have refineries. So the point is, 20 or 30 years ago, this issue we're having right with regards to repatriation of funds happened. So why will government always wait for crisis to take place before, because...
My apologies, Engineer Ogochukwu. I don't like talking about government like it's some mysterious institution.
Ego.
Yeah.
Okay.
Masquerade.
There are human beings.
Of course.
There are agencies who have certain jobs to do. Let's call it what it is. The issues don't have to go as high as the Minister of Aviation. Let's begin at the airports. Let's begin with the travel agents. Let's begin with the regulators of the sector. Let's begin with the person who carries the flag and tells the airlines, where to park and all of that. So let's decrypt the issues. So it's not complex. It's not what's the word now? It's not mysterious. to the person who is listening to you and you know, seeing you right now. Let's demystify the whole thing. What are the issues we're dealing with that has become such, I don't know the meaning of the word hegemony right now.
Okay, so let me just start with the issue of fund repatriation from foreign airlines, yeah? Usually before traffic rights has to be given, there has to be what they call a BASA, bilateral air service agreement between nations. So they agree on how they engage in terms of operating flights between two countries. So they look at, okay, what frequencies, how many airlines are going to operate, and what kind of stops, how many stops and all of that. It's contained in that document. Also, the issue of fund repatriation actually contained in that document. Article 15, clause 15 of that document stipulates that airlines can repatriate their funds when they demand it. You know, so so Nigeria actually is breaking that agreement by not allowing the airlines actually to send back their funds. If you go back in time, like I talked about the other time, 30 years ago it happened. Varig Airlines Brazil went down because they were spending money from their home country to make the president of Nigeria felt. So it got to a stage where they said, no, we can't continue with this. So that happened. Those airlines actually stopped coming to Nigeria. Okay, so, and I hope it won't happen the same way now, where we are right now. Emirates has given the signal. So maybe other airlines will also give that same signal and say, look, we're not going to fly until we get our funds. So let the government honor the agreement. And start from Federal Ministry of Aviation. I mean, that's the Supervisory Ministry for Aviation in Nigeria. They need to ensure that that agreement is honored. So they have a role to play, have a job to do, to show that CBN does what it needs, because CBN is the one who's supposed to actually send by the funds. These funds are domiciled in their Nigerian banks in Naira. Now, what happens is actually, on the day of the sale of a ticket, there's an IATA official rate, which actually in dollar, but converted to Naira, because you cannot make sales in Nigeria in another currency except Naira. So on that day of sale of that ticket, there's a dollar value converted to Naira. And that should be the value that when they're going to repatriate that fund, the day of the sale, that value should be given back to them. But right now, they're spending actually to do at 600, 700. So they're going to
Is that the cause of the problem?
It's part of the problem. So that's actually a total loss. Because maybe when they sold that ticket, it was maybe 400 something Naira to $1.
Yeah.
Now you're looking at 700. So the airline has actually run at a loss, really.
So, Jury.
What's there more to say?
No, the reason I turn to you because, I mean, for him, that's one of the core issues to look at. Do you have any other issue that you think maybe Nigerians need to know why we're having the kind of crisis that we're having in the aviation sector, such as they can't project, their spending, rates and whatever you want?
I see it from a twofold perspective, because there are the Nigerians that want to go for summer, which is actually now on the exclusive list. And there are the Nigerians that have to operate within domestic operations, either for meetings, business development, marketing, and just develop their sales of products within Nigeria. So that's what I'm going to actually narrow down and laser focus on, which is the domestic operations and the domestic flights. Yes, fuel is actually 40 to 60% of the operations. Fuel is being imported into Nigeria, Jet A1 fuel. And it's actually, as at Thursday, 904 Naira per litre. And by the time you actually convert that, and the number of liters that the minimum liters uptake for the aircraft, you're actually not breaking even.
I think the last time we discussed this matter, it had just gone past 400.
That's correct.
So it is now 900.
904 in Lagos.
Yeah. So how many airlines can still afford to operate?
Exactly. He did mention that's where you have to now focus and have a safety and security concern. If you cannot afford to pay your fuel uptake cost, you are not eligible to operate. It's a major concern. So you have to look at that and look at how that affects your operations and the cost of tickets. So let's now pick it back and see how that cost of ticket affects not even the common man, the operating companies within Nigeria. How many companies will be able to send their staff across Nigeria for meetings, for trainings, for whatever they need to do at minimum 180 or 200 naira a return leg.
But Mr. Jury, government says that there isn't anything that can be done, well, that they can do about it, because that area of the petroleum business has been totally deregulated.
Absolutely. Yes, it has. And they actually had they had a negotiation of 480 naira per liter for 3 months. That actually didn't work because the reality on ground is the importers go out there to
Source
source
for their
forex.
dollar to import it.
A central bank cannot meet and has not been able to meet either the international or domestic airlines forex allocation request. And it's not just the aviation. Aviation is actually limelight because it's for the impact on flights. It's actually across manufacturing, it's across lots of multinationals operating within Nigeria. This is just a time bomb ready to explode, unfortunately, because it's going to not just affect only airlines. We're going to see airlines affected, and then the international operators, and we're talking about manufacturing, all the businesses within Nigeria, FDI's, foreign direct investment into Nigeria, is going to be affected, and the economy will struggle.
You know, I'm looking at a report released of an investigation by a media house in Nigeria, released July, just last month, that Nigeria has lost 131 airlines, 52 or thereabout before NCAA came to be, and some 79 or so since that time. We have lost them to poor management and to accidents. And from what you guys, gentlemen, are talking about now, it seems like we're yet to lose more to situations that they cannot sustain their operations. Is there a hope anywhere? I mean, you have talked about what the CBN needs to do. What would you say, for instance, is the reason why we began to, for want of a better word, going by what you said earlier, dishonor that BASA agreement? What informed it? Is it because we lack the dollars to transfer, or what?
Well, I mean, obviously, right now, Nigeria is actually a financial crunch. We don't have enough dollars to be able to do what we need to do because we're essentially a consumption nation, really. So what are we really exporting? We need to be able to export something to get dollars back in, right? And major thing we export is crude oil, basically. So, and you take part of that crude oil, actually, you're paying for importing fuel and all that. So we don't have enough forex, like you said, to actually spread across the different demands within the Nigerian economy. So that's part of what the issue is, basically. That's first and foremost. Now, another way we could actually solve that problem, actually, is if Nigerian airlines have the capacity, because they don't have capacity right now actually to compete with foreign airlines. They don't have what it takes. Fleet capacity, you talk about management, corporate governance is a major issue with domestic airlines in Nigeria. They're not resilient in terms of operation. Maybe a few of them are, but they're not really resilient. Okay, so corporate governance is a major issue, which has been talked about over and over and over again, that they need to have efficient management system that, I mean, part of my challenge actually is that we don't deal with data in terms of taking decisions within the aviation environment. It's all about sentiments. There's been a lot of sentiments about this fuel issue and fund pressure and all that, but you have to have data that you need to analyze to come up with information that enable you actually make strategic decisions. That's not happening yet. Okay, so again, that's an issue, and I'm happy that the regulator is actually dealing with this issue. The NCA is actually dealing with this issue. That's why Dana was actually asked to stop flying. It's an economic issue, so, and that has to do with corporate governance as well. Okay, so a step has started towards that process of trying to ensure that airlines in Nigeria operate within the scope of efficient management system and all that.
But if I would, take you up on that, I mean, NCA, I'm sorry, not casting aspersions, just thinking aloud. NCAA is now taking on one airline after another and all of that to ensure that they do the needful, default corporate governance based on some research that we may have somewhere. The banking industry was at some point equally vulnerable. They were asked to recapitalize, and I think that has happened twice. They have had to recapitalize, mergers and all of that. So it was a function of the regulator of the banking industry to say, do it this way.
Yeah.
so that we don't have a major problem in the economy. Is there something the NCA also could have done to ensure or enforce compliance or compel compliance of corporate governance in the aviation sector?
Okay, so interesting, they've actually started that process already, because they're actually doing audit of all the airlines right now. And anyone who's followed one thing, I mean, they're going to shut them down until they go on. So that's what has already started happening. Then I talked about issue of capacity earlier on, and that's another way to go, because you have domestic operations, you have regional operations, you have international operations. So there has to be a certain number of aircraft in your fleet for you to do domestic, for you to do regional, and for you to do international. But right now, our airlines do not have that capacity. For example, airlines like Ibom Air, like Air Peace could be Nigerian flag carriers. They need to be empowered to do that, so they can do international flights, and also they earn forex. Now, what will happen actually for them when they go to maintenance, because everything in aviation is denominated in dollars, so they earn foreign exchange. They can use that to do their C checks for the aircraft and all that. So they don't have to now bother getting forex locally from Nigeria, because they already have those funds based on tickets they sold in the international. So that will help to cushion the effect if some of the airlines in Nigeria become flag carriers and operate international flights. So they make the revenue and all that. So that's one way, but it doesn't solve the whole problem really. But that's one way that you can actually ameliorate the problem, a little bit. So that's so. Now the issue of capacity for me is critical. Look at the West African sub-region. You have Sierra Leone, you have Benin, Togo, Ghana, and all that. Nigeria needs to exploit that environment and use them as a feeder. For example, let's say Air Peace used to go to South Africa, but they stopped because of visa issues and all of that. Air Peace could actually make all of those West African countries feeder route to South Africa. So don't just depend on Nigeria. So even if Nigerians are not getting visas, you can actually pick people from Abidjan, from Dakar, from Liberia, and bring them to Nigeria, to Johannesburg. So you're still making your flight. It's for the fact that Nigerians are not getting visa, but you're feeding and you're making foreign exchange in that respect as well.
Capacity, you say?
Capacity, yes.
Mr. Jury, it has also been suggested that, I'm not sure who said it, whether the person is an aviation ministry official, who suggested that, look, why don't we have aviators also merge different, airlines? If you guys are having a crunch here on that side and on this side, why don't you guys just come together and two are better than one kind of scenario? What's your take on that?
Before I go to your question, I'd like to buttress what you asked about what the financial sector did.
Yeah.
We actually have what you call the Nigerian Aviation Act that it's going to go live soon. It's going through the process in the National Assembly. Okay. And by the time it goes live, it's, we have evolved. Aviation is dynamic. So we didn't have that opportunity of what the banks had. So with that is going to, I believe that's going to be an opportunity for us to grow and be able to survive the realities of the time. Now coming to your question, airlines over time in Nigeria have evolved or started based on different models. Fortunately or unfortunately, airlines in Nigeria have been personal businesses. So the ownership system actually affects your merger and acquisition process. And it's not, we talked about earlier about corporate governance. That ownership structure affects your corporate governance. And whoever wants to merge based on your model, based on your culture, based on your operations, it's a marriage of inconvenience.
Well, I don't know if this Aviation Act will also answer the question, because one of the old banks that comes to my mind, funny enough, is Société Générale.
Yes.
It went under. Oceanic Bank, so many banks like that, all became property of other, banks and all of that, irrespective of their ownership structure and all. So if we are looking at the survival and sustenance of the aviation sector, if the banks did it, how difficult could it be for the aviation sector?
Let's be fair and let's match apples and apples. What about, you're not talking about the banks that AMCONs have taken over. We have a list of those. And we have airlines too that AMCONs have taken over. So yes, we have that crop or that bucket of banks that merged and were forced to merge. But others now are independent and taken over by AMCON. So we should not just look at, sometimes what works for the bank does not work for aviation.
I agree with you.
And
there are two different sectors.
Exactly.
I'm just wondering if it is something that can help the process.
Yes, and they've actually seen earlier this year, there was what you call the Spring Alliance that was set up. And it was an initiative by the domestic airline operators by themselves. They saw the need to actually come together, strengthen numbers. Is it working? They've not. I don't see that. I've not been able to track that trajectory yet to see. They've not been able to push down the price of fuel. They've not been able to actually push. But maybe on the policy side, they're able to work things out for themselves. We're yet to find that out.
Mr. Okuchukwu, you spoke about the C check a short while ago. Yeah. How difficult is it for airlines to have their C checks in Nigeria? You're an engineer, so I think that that question is actually going to the right place. We have a good number of what are you guys called now? Aviation engineers. So how difficult, we heard talk at one time, I can't remember how long ago it was, about actually making Nigeria a hub so that C checks can be carried out in Nigeria. How difficult is it to get that going? Is it the personnel that we lack? Is it the equipment that we lack? What is militating against getting that show on the road?
Okay, so it's about what you call the MRO, maintain, repair, and overhaul facilities, basically. Mm-hmm. Akwa Ibom State government has been actually establishing one. That's not off the ground yet. They're still working on that, right? Okay. The current administration actually also said they're going to establish an MRO. That has not happened yet. Basically, Nigeria can do A and B checks within the country. So that's Naira denominated. As a matter of fact, aero contractor actually does those checks, aero contractors, right? Okay. Even though they're not flying, but they're still operating their maintenance. Yeah, they're still operating that. So they're servicing airlines with that as well. So now the issue, you need to set up a proper functional MRO that has the facilities to undertake a C check, which you don't have in the country right now. So until we're able to set up that MRO facility, then we can be able to now do the C checks and all of those checks.
How difficult is it to set it up?
Funding. So it depends on investors who wants to set it up. It's a business, actually. MRO is a business.
It's a business, yes.
Right?
So you invest in it, you make money out of it.
That, you know.
Yes.
So, but again, the thing is, it comes back to the issue of how the industry is being affected now. Because people are looking at, if I invest my money in MROs, how much I'm going to get my money back, my money back. That's a major issue, right, basically. So people are looking at, foreign investors are looking at all of those issues and saying, look, in as much as Nigeria is a huge market, we can set up these MROs and make our money. The money gets stuck in country, and we can't get it back. So at the end of the day, we're actually losing. So we're bringing the money into Nigeria and invest. So that's part of the challenge. And it's something that is doable. I mean, Ethiopian Airlines is making a lot of money from having the MROs and all that. So it's something that we can do in Nigeria. And we need to do it because it's going to also reduce the demand for Forex as well.
So now, our problem right now is who is going to put their money down to start the business, right? Who's going to invest in it?
That's part of the problem, actually. But even though, like I said, the Akwa Ibom State government is actually building one, but it's been on for quite a long period of time. The federal government have not started that one. They just said they're going to do it, but that has not started as well.
Well, we're still waiting for Nigerian Air also. We understand it's supposed to take off in 2023 or before this government is over. Why are you guys laughing?
In the face of all this, with all these challenges?
That's what the minister said. Come on, I'm not the minister. I'm just repeating what the minister said. But Mr. Jury, let me ask you, in all of these, conversations that we're having, it definitely doesn't seem to be looking very good. The position of IATA is another one that is not giving us good publicity, if I can use the term. And it all goes back to what government can do or not. So there is a role for government, there is a role for private sector. What, if you would hazard a guess, could be the middle ground in all of these? Because I'm not sure, I don't know what kind of, should I say, sanction that IATA could put on Nigeria with its own intervention now and all of that. So what's the implication of the position that IATA is holding in all of these?
IATA has actually gone through lots of mediation. We've met with I'll take your words, let's not talk government. There are people in government. They've met with the office of the vice president. They've met, Emirates came and met with the central bank and lead management to actually have this conversation of how to repatriate their funds. It's not their profit, it's transaction money. And they did not find a solace. They did not find positivity in it. So they now went back, and now they're making us understand this is going to affect connectivity, it's going to affect confidence, it's going to affect even our position. We always actually have a roadmap of saying we want to make the Nigeria the hub. How would we make the Nigeria the hub of aviation if all this is happening? So this is this is not just one thing. It's not a silo. It's a fact that would affect so many other things and have a domino effect on investor confidence, even on IATA. But what the reality on ground is the airlines still in West Africa, this is the market. So what is now happening? The airlines, the Turkish, the Virgins, the British Airways, are now, want to book your ticket to travel. Your exclusive club members that want to travel abroad. You now have to, they'll take your reservation, they'll now send a URL to you to go and book your ticket. What that does for you is that you actually have to go and source your dollar at the parallel markets, use your dollar card to pay for that ticket online. So you can buy your ticket from Nigeria. But
you're paying in dollars.
You're paying in dollars. That way they get their dollars remitted immediately, the payments. They are not tied to the central bank. It goes to their account over there. So that's what they found out. That's their way out. Otherwise, alternatively, you have to pay Naira, which is highly exorbitant. So those are the options at the moment. And I don't see lots of airlines shutting down. You know, there's been lots of what we call aeropolitics. Yeah. We've had that over with Emirates. So it's just like there are lots of matters, and this is just, they cannot take this again. We have had issues over them, with them. Even before they stopped issuing visas to Nigerians under 30. So they put everything in the box and find out their decision. I don't know what made up that decision, but other airlines will not just pack and go. There are those that would find out these are the other things. And lastly, there's always opportunities. You have that street language. When one door opens, another, when one window opens, another door closes. We go back to Benin. That's been, when there was closure, there was COVID, people went across the border. You see traffic opening up in Benin. Ghana is struggling with inflation. Maybe we'll help them with the number of travelers going to Nigeria and going through Ghana now. We help them get out of inflation better, faster rather, because now they are able to get their money out of Accra or Ghana. Yes, and so we'll go to Ghana and fly out of West Africa.
Mr. Jury,
yes,
if they're sending you a URL to use your dollar card to pay for your ticket, can you just intimate us of approximately how much it would cost, for instance, for one to fly economy from here to London?
It would, well, you know, it's a function of your day economy, and it could be, I'll presume.
Not a promo ticket, no.
Not a promo ticket, I presume, and I'm just making my perception analysis of you. I want a premium economy for you, and you want a month. It would differ, but you're looking about 1,000, 2,000, and you can't nail that to, it depends on the time of the year. It depends, the proximity of your date of travel. Yeah. So all those things affect the algorithms.
Please, can you say it in Naira? That's the one we understand.
If you go to Naira, you would actually see about $6,000, $7,000. And if you actually multiply that at the parallel market rate, it's something that will buy land in my village.
Or build a house.
Buy land in Lagos as well. Well, that is kind of scary. So those who have traveling on their list of things to do for this year had better be looking at other things.
They should just review it. Don't tell them to.
No, look at other things now.
Review it.
No, it's all right.
Where the review is going to go, that's
but there are different reasons for traveling, though. Exactly. There are different. There's the business part. It's visiting family and friends.
Yeah.
There's the healthcare part of it, and there's the education part of it.
Yes.
And then lastly, we've seen the demography of those that are leaving the country. So whatever the ticket price, they would buy because they want to leave.
So, Engineer Ogochukwu, this is where we are. Last words now. $464 million is not small money. One of the areas which, and I think you stated this earlier, is we're a largely consuming nation.
Sadly.
How significantly will this whole thing affect cargo business, cargo traffic into Nigeria? And how will that affect the prices of whatever?
Interesting. Okay, so they're actually on the same platform, so to speak, because the cargo airlines also are bringing stuff into Nigeria. They get paid in Naira. They need to also move their funds back in USD as well. So it affects both the commercial airlines
and if they refuse to come to Nigeria because of all these?
So that's where the challenge is right now, because
then Nigerians will starve.
We've not gotten there yet. Okay, so both the commercial airlines and the cargo airlines, right? So if they stop coming to Nigeria, how can we? I mean, we're going to be kind of cut off from the global community basically because of this dishonoring.
In other words, you agree with how Nigerians will starve. That's what you're saying.
Well, not essentially. Maybe it will not force us actually to look inward.
Maybe that's the strategy. But there's so much to talk about here, gentlemen, because I mean, it's too much. I mean, come on, $464 million, all stock. Can't imagine 1 million. 1 million? $500,000 my money. Engineer Frank Ogochukwu, Technical Director, Aviation Safety Roundtable Initiative. Thank you so much for your time this morning, as well as Mr. Tayo Ujuri, an aviation expert. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure to be here.
More to come after now. This one, whether you are home or abroad, it concerns you. Have you heard a situation where someone gets into the room and the first thing you do is close your nose? That and a number of other things when we return from this break. Stay with us.